I know you talk a lot about a couple key foods and a couple key lifestyle practices. So can you run us through that based on your research and what you found?
We took principles of naturopathic medicine. In fact, I did a podcast with Tina Kaiser, who's just a really amazing naturopathic doctor, and she's part of the Natural Medicine Journal. She said, I read your diet, Kara, and I just cracked up because this is old school nature cure. This is an old school nature cure diet. And I said, yeah, it really is. It is. And she just got the rationale for everything we were doing. But I want to tease out that we designed the diet heavy in methyl donors, again, knowing that methyl donors delivered in a food matrix are really uniformly safe. At worst, if you look at the research, they're neutral. They're not impactful, but really uniformly, a methyl donor heavy diet is very safe. And we know as we age, methylation gets wonky, as I explained, hyper and hypo are happening, but there's a net loss of methylation. So a global hypomethylation pattern, and then areas of hyper and imbalance. So it's just messy. It's messy in the diseases of aging as well as aging itself. So the diet needs to be loaded with methyl donors, loaded, loaded, loaded. We use the liver, which again is a nature cure, old school nature cure ingredient, and it's a multivitamin in a food matrix. In addition to it being methyl donor dense, the new research on polyphenols is that they're epi nutrients also. So they're not methyl donors. They're not pushing methylation forward, but they influence the enzymes. And it seems like what they're doing in part is directing where methylation is happening to a more favorable pattern. I write about in the book, there's actually a table in the book, and most of this is in vitro, some animal data. So it's new, but looking at tumor suppressor genes. So tumor suppressor genes are routinely hypermethylated and turned off in cancer, as I said, and also in aging. And there's a pretty decent body of literature in vitro and animal showing these beautiful polyphenols allowing these tumor suppressor genes to be turned back on. And this is beyond just tumor suppressor genes. I focus on that because that's where the bulk of the literature is. They seem to support good genes in general sort of being turned on. And I'm talking about curcumin and the catechins in green tea, or resveratrol, luteolin, quercetin, rosmarinic acid in rosemary, the polyphenols in blueberries, and on and on and on. There's so many of these epi-nutrient, these epi-active polyphenols. I built out a massive appendix. It's like a 30-page appendix in the back of the book where I talk about epi-nutrients, including donors, as well as this category of polyphenols we're calling methylation adaptogens. And then there are demethylation. So there's a whole nother family of enzymes called 1011 translocation enzymes that actively demethylated a gene and allow it to turn back on. And there's nutrients associated with those enzymes as well. And so I just list them all in food sources in the back of the book, which I just think is cool because you can see how you can eat for your genes. You can eat for this optimal gene expression and do it routinely and easily. So we designed the diet around that. It is old school nature cure, but we're thinking about DNA methylation, and it's designed like orthomolecular principles, so the right amount and the right quantity to really move DNA methylation. So we really leaned on orthomolecular science, on functional science, on naturopathic medicine. Now, beyond thinking about the methylation cycle, we see that there are many other inputs that influence DNA methylation. Exercise is a potent influencer of, well, we know it's favorable in longevity. I mean, there is too much exercise, and I get into that in the book. So excess exercise could be a pro-aging event. But, balanced exercise, which can be pretty intense, I mean, it depends on your level of fitness, but it doesn't have to be, it's routinely favorable. And it's favorable epigenetically. A cool recent study shows exercise behaving like these polyphenols I just talked about, turning on previously inhibited tumor suppressor genes. Another study speaks to exercise's benefits as being mediated largely through changing genetic expression at the epigenome. So we see the downstream anti-inflammatory effects, the mitochondrial benefits, the antioxidant benefit, all of the myriad benefits of exercise, it's now being theorized, are sourced to gene expression. So exercise was a no-brainer that we wanted something in there. And we did a modest prescription of 30 minutes, 5 days a week of a perceived exertion, 60 to 80%. So not intense, and you can do whatever you want. We didn't limit what people's choices were. A lot of the guys in our study walked. sleep is really important for epigenetic expression, and I get into that. And we wanted our participants to hit, a minimum of 7 hours. Little sleep, especially in animal studies where they can, do a brain analysis, a brain dissection, has an immediate and impactful effect on neurogenesis. So sufficient sleep is essential for DNA methylation and epigenetic regulation. Stress, I would say that stress drives aging forward stronger, as strong as anything, and maybe it'll, prove to be one of the top drivers of aging. And an aha moment for me of the many was the biological age clock that we used in our study, which is sort of the original kind of flagship, best published biological age clock. A full 25% of it is devoted to influence by glucocorticoids. So you could say that stress influences 25% of this particular biological age clock. So we prescribed a meditation program, just a very simple relaxation response by Herbert Benson. It's a validated, tool. He was at Harvard, but just a simple breathing exercise. And we wanted folks to do it 10 minutes twice a day. The data on meditation, on yoga, on Tai Chi is just really cool. And it's still a new area. All of epigenetics is sort of a new area of investigation, and the science will continue to evolve. But you see how potently anti-aging it is. Especially in experienced meditators. But even so, the cool thing about this is even one meditation and exercise, we can talk about exercise too, even one exercise event can have favorable changes. Obviously, they sort of spread like wildfire and benefit if you continue to engage in the practice. So exercise, meditation, sleep were the lifestyle pieces.